Trying to find out where the fuck is the list. One. There it is. All right. God, it's late. Maybe did it on purpose. It's about 1 a.m. 1 a.m. over there. Wow. Jeez. Alright, this is late, but I want to get this done. Regardless. Let's see. Let's wait here. See what's going on here. All right, so he finally got the interview up. This is from News Nation, Ross Coulthart. This guy needs a shout out and stuff. This is something that I've known about for decades. Some of us have known about for decades and stuff. He is being interviewed. This time, no joke, this should be the full interview on it. I saw just a little bit of it. I wanted to just get this, it's late and everything, but let's go.
Program to retrieve and reverse engineer UFOs.
Has the government...
Here, I'll start here.
Tonight, you've heard the testimony about a secret government program to retrieve and reverse engineer UFOs.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
News Nation was the first to bring you this story.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
And now, for the first time anywhere, a military veteran comes forward to say he was part of that program, with video to prove it.
My work has included the recovery of downed UAP of non-human origin.
Revealing how he
News
retrieved alien craft.
What did you see?
I saw an egg,
How it changed his life forever.
what we call a psionic component, to the research and development of the UAP program.
And how he plans to do it again for the world to see.
Yeah, he
skies
must
are
have really
not
gotten hurt
classified.
doing this.
Your
Yeah,
conscious
he
can't
did
be
get hurt
redacted.
doing this
His
stuff.
account, corroborated by his colleagues, and his injuries sustained during these operations, confirmed by a Stanford professor.
My personal experience is that there's something here.
Will the truth
That's
set
good.
him
You found out
free,
there's something
or
there.
will it get
Amen.
him killed?
People have been murdered.
Sorry.
That seems to be the case.
News Nation
Others have been
presents
killed. Others
Hunting
have been killed.
UFOs,
So-
the Crash Retrieval Whistleblower. In October 2024, an unknown man stepped out of the shadows, arriving in our nation's capital to deliver an important message about what the public
Oh,
calls
that'll get copyright
UFOs
trademark,
and the government calls unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs.
I'm here in D.C. this week to meet
It's
with members of
UFOs.
Congress.
His name is Jacob Barber, and he says that for the past 30 years he's worked in both an official
Why
and
do they have to change
unofficial
the acronyms
capacity
all
for
the
the United
time?
States government.
What? It's not the first time they've done it. Let's move on.
And its partners in the intelligence community. What he knows and what he's here to tell Congress could change the world as we know it.
We're in this rare opportunity in human history where it's very clear that we know that there are things flying in the sky that are unexplained and ununderstood. And that's another one of the things that I'm uniquely providing information on.
So what makes this guy special? Well, to date, everyone who's come forward has either described their own UAP encounter, like this famed 2015 incident recorded by F-16 aviators on the USS Roosevelt.
I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me.
Others have alleged that there's a secret government UAP program that's been going on for decades. People like David Grush and Lou Elizondo. They say they've been told about it. They believe it exists, but they weren't a part of it themselves.
We've been recovering spacecraft, alien spacecraft.
The United States has been involved in the recovery of objects, vehicles of unknown origin that are neither from our country or any other foreign country that we're aware of.
But Mr. Barber is different. He says that for years he was part of that covert program, working with alien spacecraft.
These days we call them NHI, non-human intelligence. And this guy is prepared to
Non-human
testify
tautos.
that he was involved directly, first-hand,
The worst.
in the retrieval of these craft. How long have you known this secret about unidentified anomalous phenomena being of non-human origin?
For more than 10 years.
Of course, we checked Barber's records, and we've confirmed that he was an airman in the US Air Force, working as an aerospace mechanic in the late 90s. But as these documents show,
Wow, that's
he was also
long
recruited
time
into
ago.
Air Force Special Operations. No,
He does not look that old. Holy shit. So he's as old as I am. I mean, as young as I. Let's
as
move on.
combat control. He says he ended up working in a non-official capacity for the Department of Defense and
Yeah.
the intelligence community.
What were you?
What was I? Ross, I was a highly talented airplane mechanic who got to deploy on a number of presidential support missions.
But Jake was no ordinary mechanic. Being recruited into the Air Force's elite combat control unit meant he had a resume that reads like something out of an action thriller. Helicopter pilot, free-fall parachutist, expert marksman, and the recipient of a NATO top-secret security clearance, a legacy of his service in Bosnia, where he won an award for an act of heroism. In addition to reviewing his official documentation,
joke.
News Nation spoke with 3 former Special Operations soldiers who corroborate Barber's credentials and claims.
I know
That's rare.
in special operations, you're often in some tough situations. You have to rely on each other. Is Jake Barber a person who you would trust?
Oh yes, he's a person I would and have trusted with my life.
Do you think Jake Barber is a patriot?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a thing I know a lot of special operators talk about, that there are certain types of men who you would want watching your back in a tight spot. Is he one of those guys?
Absolutely. Trustworthiness is one of the top things that we're looking for.
And one of his most fervent supporters is Colonel John Blitch, a Renaissance warrior who holds a doctorate in psychology, was a Delta Force sniper, and is one of the few men to hold doomsday in his hands, commanding a nuclear weapons battalion.
So you believe Jake Barber is telling the truth?
Absolutely.
There has been a cover-up lasting 80 years.
My father
Absolutely.
had access
We've
to
recovered
nuclear
craft.
weapons too in
Absolutely. So
Florida.
So let's roll back. You say you were an enlisted man, and then you ended up working for the intelligence community as a contractor. Tell me that story. How did that happen?
Everything changed for me right around 9/11. And I left the Air Force and was sent out to California at that time to begin establishing my cover basis for an independent contractor, so that I could serve what was coming down the line next for me.
independent contractors.
And that is the path which
Contract.
led to the UAP subject.
Barber
That's
says he
all
was
right.
contracted as a helicopter pilot and was part of a team assigned to retrieve crashed aircraft at an undisclosed testing facility in the desert. And we're not only talking about conventional airplanes or drones.
A lot of the work we did was on what I call the range, where the U.S. government and its private partners use to test all kinds of things, weapon systems and resilience to weapon systems of certain craft. And so you see a lot of exciting things.
So you start seeing at the range
Yes.
interesting objects.
Well, yeah,
I've
it's
heard
always
that.
interesting
That
out there.
place.
Things come
It's
in and
not
out
just
of
one
sight.
place, but
Things
it's the whole
disappear for a
area.
moment and reappear. Things seem to move very quickly. Things change color. They change shape. We did recover things that were exotic in nature in the sky, and we know they were classified craft. And we recovered them and took them back to where they go. The majority of what we see and do is explainable and is ordinary and is known by many people and is not classified. But there is a certain percentage which is extremely sensitive, and that extremely sensitive bit does include what we know is our own man-made advanced technology.
So you know
Right.
what Louis Elizondo has described as the 5 observables. So you were seeing objects that complied with those weird observables.
Yes. So one of those that would raise your eyebrow is more of the transmedium characteristics, because things would come from the ground, like from the earth, from a ridge, from a mountain, or could pass through.
So they'd come out of a ridge.
Out of a ridge, yeah.
Aircraft that can disappear, change colour, change shape? How might
we
the
have
US
fucking
military have
technology,
developed
too.
or acquired such technology? Jake says he saw for himself close up.
In the rare occasion, or let's say the hypothetical occasion, something of a non-human origin or source were to interface with the ground, you would deploy that same team. And that is the segue in how we got involved with this particular subject.
Next, Jake Barber's first encounter with non-human intelligence.
How close did you get?
I got within 150 feet of this object.
And later, News Nation has acquired video evidence of Jake's claims. It has to be seen to be believed.
We are not alone.
We are not.
We never were. What the? Anyways, again, I have to give a shout out News Nation. Ross Coltart. He does this. This is the only thing I like about News Nation, really, and stuff. So, anyways, give them a look, and we'll go and take a look. Okay.
There's no doubt Jake Barber is an accomplished helicopter pilot. This is the kind of work Barber says he did after he left the Air Force as a private contractor, working for the defence industry and the US government at a secret location he calls the Range. That's where Barber and his team were asked to retrieve downed craft, the likes of which he says were not just advanced tech the public has never seen. They were built by non-human intelligence.
So tell me about the moment when you realised that you were involved in a retrieval of non-human technology, alien tech.
So it became very clear the first time our communication process and procedure was modified. And then just visually looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
How close did you get?
Well, I was a helicopter pilot, and I operate with 150 foot to 200 foot long line. So I got within 150 feet of this object.
What did you see?
I saw an egg, a white egg.
Was there any visible propulsion system on it?
No, not what we would know. There's no engine, there was no thermal signature. I was operating at night when I finally came in to pick it up, so I'm working under night vision goggles at the time. And it was quite clear. I flipped them up, flipped them down, and looked at it a couple of different ways.
How large was the object?
I would say approximately 20 feet, plus or minus a little bit, about the size of a large SUV.
Did it have any seams?
No.
Yeah, and it was pure white?
No.
It was like pearly white, like a metallic
bolts.
Pearly white, best I could assess.
How did you know that that egg-shaped object was non-human in origin?
You could tell.
Well, visually, after seeing all kinds of things in my past, it was clearly something that was ridiculously looking. It's inconsistent with anything I'd ever seen before. I can also tell you that the reaction by my team, we all knew we were dealing with something extraordinary.
And at no stage were you ever subsequently told that the craft was of non-human origin?
I will tell you that during this process, over the last couple of years, it's been confirmed to me by ranking members of the UAP task force that what we were working with that night was in fact an HI, and it was not a unique experience.
What do you think that object was?
I don't know. Again, I'm security and transportation. I moved it, loaded it on a truck, and it went to...
Where would it go? Where would it be taken?
It would be taken to a secure facility, but again, my role stops once I deliver it.
Yes, it sounds like the stuff of madness, tall tales, delusions. And anyway, where was the proof for any of this?
NewsNation has independently obtained previously unseen video obtained from a secret UAP craft retrieval program. This extraordinary footage clearly shows an egg-shaped object dangling in a sling below the belly of a helicopter.
The size of an SUV car. Yeah. Not an SUV.
Let's slow this down to take a closer look. That's an egg-shaped UAP suspended from a 150-foot long line. We're told the craft is about 20 feet long. The egg suspended in a cradle. And look how careful the pilot is as they bring their precious cargo into land. Let's freeze frame here to look at one of the clearest images of a UAP ever taken. This is no blurry light in a distant sky. The source of the footage putting themselves at incredible risk to record this UAP retrieval. Look at how perfectly smooth the craft is. No markings at all. And no visible means of propulsion or way to see inside. Watch how it rolls, almost graceful as it hits the ground, despite being wrapped in the ropes and canvas from the cradle as it's dropped for pickup. The UAP's final destination still unknown.
Physically,
so there was another object. There's two objects that I'm here to talk about. One was the egg, the other is what we called an 8-gon. The 8-gon was essentially a flying disc with what looked like 8 delineated sections when looking down. And I can tell you what it looked like from looking down, because that's primarily how I saw it, because I'm a helicopter pilot. We did recoveries with the 8 GONs. There was more than one that made its way to the ground on this particular operation.
Simply seeing a non-human craft up close would be an intense experience in itself. But Barber says as he prepared to transport that so-called 8 GON from the pickup site to the drop site, something even more intense happened to him that would change his life forever.
This is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life I'm about to share with you, so bear with me. So as I get closer to this pick site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. And the closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty and song, and it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night, and I began wondering what was wrong with me. It was late. Am I just stressed? Am I tired? And I don't know. But as I came over this object for the pick, there was this overwhelming sense of emotion.
Is it your feeling? Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance on what to do and how profound what I was doing was. And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry. And then I'm confused as to why I'm crying at the same time. And then do I abort the mission? So I just did my best to focus on my particular cues when doing this type of work, and I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. And
was it loving?
It was loving. But there was a sense of sadness at the same time. And
had you ever had an experience like this before?
No, it was a very feminine energy, I'll tell you that. It felt like the spirit of God.
I've had different stuff with different experiences. I don't know why it's happening to me. It shouldn't. It shouldn't happen to me whatsoever. But I've had some experiences, stuff like that. It's something psychic. With some of these experiences. With some ETs, some are evil, some are good. You have different experiences and stuff like that. I don't know why I'm getting this, but anyways. Got it. Hit this. Something happens to your soul, it hits you in the core of your soul, in your mind. It's something beyond human. You know that you're on a different level. We're not alone, and sometimes you can feel the beings inside of the craft. And some people have said that communicate with those beings inside the craft. And talk to you telepathically and stuff like that. Psychically. Weird stuff. How?
Odd, but not in any masculine sense. And it wasn't like a soul, it was like a frequency that I was connected with. And whatever that force was,
It
since
floods
that
you,
night,
washes
it
over
has stayed
you.
with me. And as crazy as this sounds, it's what's guiding me now. And it's what's providing protection for me.
It's changed your life.
It's changed my life.
Wait a second. Humans bonding psychically and emotionally with non-human intelligence? Yes, Jake Barber says that's exactly what happened to him. And he's not the only one. And he says the government knows all about it.
There is a psychic component to the research and development of the UAP program.
Do psychics
how we
walk
control? Clearly, how we control the craft and how you use the craft is psychic and stuff, whereas it's mechanical in how we use firecraft here, humans do. With this stuff, it's psychic stuff like that's not social control. So
Muggers, stay with us.
forgive me.
Jake Barber says that when he retrieved a so-called 8-gon-shaped UAP, he had an intense emotional reaction, which convinced him he'd connected
Fuck
telepathically with a non-human intelligence.
You're talking UFOs, flying saucers, and
That's probably one of the hardest conversations. That object, or whatever was controlling that object, was also connecting to me through the mind, through my mind.
And so, how did the object come to land?
I think it was invited to land by the psionics team.
Jake says his mission that night came from no accidental crash. The UAP was summoned by a separate team, a special team with special abilities. They're called psionics.
What is a psionic?
A psionic person is someone with the predisposition for extratemporal, you could say, abilities and sensitivities.
Extratemporal abilities, also known as psychic powers.
What did you discover with the psionics were being used for in the program?
In the program, there was certainly a desire to explore the idea that perhaps UAP could be summoned, could be communicated with, could be controlled, and could be persuaded to land, all by deploying people with psionic abilities.
And did you see that happen?
Yes, I did.
When a psionic operator engages with technology, how do they do it?
Using their mind, something like meditation.
There genuinely are people who can actually make a mental, spiritual connection to a technology.
Yes, 100%.
It all seems so far.
It's how humans would say, the Force, except for the Force is real. You have, I can't think of all the right words right now because I have 1,000 things going through my mind right now. So interdimensional, it's interdimensional, extragalactic. We can communicate through the stars. Extratemporal, multidimensional, we could do this. And stuff like that.
Far-fetched, psychically gifted humans linking with possibly alien ships, summoning them and even piloting them. But it isn't just Jake saying this. Don Paul, another decorated Special Forces operator and colleague of Jake's, says he's also seen what psionics can do.
I've had the pleasure of meeting multiple psionic assets. I've seen them function. I know that they're capable of doing what they're doing.
You can definitively say that you believe there is a capacity in the human mind to somehow psychically, telepathically connect with.
Yes, and I don't know if it's a byproduct, if it's something that they were born with, but there is certain people who are quantifiably, verifiably capable of this.
It's an established fact that the Pentagon has had an interest in psychic abilities, what it calls remote viewing.
the thing is, this has been happening since the beginning of time, and it went to secret societies that we've had. And my father, I have ancestors, stuff like that belong to secret societies, and how, we all believed in psychic stuff, reincarnation, and how stuff like this is integrated. You have secret societies in the CIA. You have the people in the FBI, NSC, National Security, intelligence, other intelligence organizations, and stuff that have ancestry and secret societies. And when the CIA was founded, people from these secret societies were also put into intelligence and stuff like that. Some of them, not all of them, but you're talking about some of the highest, most secret levels, where this is thousands of years, where we were called soothsayers back in Greece or whatever. This goes back thousands of years to today. It's gone through ancestry into today. Psychics, things get relayed and stuff like that, and how we can project psychic abilities and telepathy and other different special abilities, chi, ki, transference, soul transference, and everything else out of the body type of transference. All this stuff.
For military purposes. The famed Project Stargate spent years studying the subject, and despite the CIA's official position that such studies yielded nothing, former Pentagon UAP investigator Lou Elizondo told me last year that psychic abilities are very real, and perhaps not very rare.
So this is an ontological shock, I think, for many people watching this, because we're all being told, firstly, there's no such thing as aliens visiting this planet. And secondly, there's no such thing as telepathy or psychic abilities. It's rubbish.
Yeah, I don't think there is going to be an ontological shock. I think it's going to be an ontological relief, because I think everyone deep down knows that there's more.
We don't need fucking technology.
What we are being told and experiencing. Not only is it not shocking, but it should be welcome.
It all seems so innocent, so benign, even sacred. But hold on. Jake says that through his work, he and his team have suffered serious injuries.
After this particular mission, me and everyone on my team got extremely sick.
How sick?
Like physically ill in the hospital.
And one of the world's leading medical experts agrees.
My personal experience, both with people and the things that I've seen, is that there's something here.
Are UAPs bad for your health? Coming up next.
Oh God! Again, it's UFOs. I mean, the thing is, after they designated UFOs UAPs, and there's good reasons for having the UAP designation UFO. UFO is object. UAP is atmospheric aerial phenomenon, not just the object part. The stupid Pentagon had intelligence renamed their UFO investigation from UAPs to another. I don't keep track. It's all bullshit. It's a diversion. It's how they want to do to keep things secret, sweep things under the rug, and say we're not investigating anymore, even though they are, and they're doing crash retrieval all the time and stuff. And I heard 1947 could have been, some of these crashes could have been not exactly faked, but they were done on purpose. Or, and some crashes were because of uranium, rocks with uranium, around New Mexico, crashes that happened before the famous 1947 one, where it disrupts their energy propulsion, energy fields and stuff like that. And so it led to crashes, stuff like that. There's all kinds of different reasons. So.
What do you think the NHI want?
The NHI, I feel the NHI are guiding
Different
us.
things.
Jake Barber describes his encounters with UAP as transcendent, quasi-religious moments.
And from what you're saying, that's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it was the most beautiful experience I've had in my life.
But he also says these encounters could come with a staggering cost. UAPs may have changed his life for the better. They may also have shortened it.
So what happened to you?
We're not quite sure. We were transporting a large sealed container.
Jake says nobody on his team was told what was in that container.
And we transported what we called mystery boxes all the time. I have no idea. It could have been empty. It probably wasn't empty, but we don't know what was inside the boxes.
And what were you told if somebody tried to seize that box? What were your orders?
We maintained the authority to use lethal force if anyone tried to seize those boxes.
So whatever that box was, it was extremely valuable
That's
to the
correct.
US government.
That's correct. And after this particular...
I was told about some workers that worked at Area 51 and stuff not to look at a general direction at craft. Always keep your eyes straight ahead. Don't look around, or else they threaten to kill them or shoot them. Just do what you're there to do for that one particular job. And if you deviate from that, they threaten to shoot you or kill you. I've heard that. So what you do is there's different parts of these jobs categories at these different sites, and they don't want you trying to look into other aspects of these technologies other than what the job you're supposed to do. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you to understand other stuff or think about that. Just do that one single job. Don't look around. Because if you do, then you're going to know too much, and that is a threat. That is a problem as a threat to their secrecy, and
me and everyone on my team got extremely sick, like physically ill in the hospital. Within weeks after this, I'd lost every hair on my body, and I also lost the skin on my arms.
So the skin's actually falling off your body?
Yeah, like not just falling off, like it was lopping off within a couple of days, like a severe sunburn. I ended up developing a severe heart murmur that I'd never had before.
Last year, I introduced Jake to Stanford immunology professor Gary Nolan. He's been studying anomalous injuries among US military personnel for years at the behest of the CIA. Nolan agreed to review decades of Jake's medical records.
The report reads like a bit of a horror show, to be quite honest. To me, what the first thing that came to mind was you were exposed to some kind of radiation. And especially, as I understand it, a number of his co-workers in the deployments that he was in had similar problems. So you're not dealing with a one-off who went home and somehow came in contact with something in the house, but you have 4 or 5 individuals all at once coming down with the same thing within a week or so after deployment. That's more than a coincidence.
My fear is that there's something permanently broken that might show up in the form of cancer or God knows what later in life, and we're going to be way behind in trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Assuming Jake and his team were exposed to radiation emanating from that box, could it have come from one of the many radioactive materials used regularly by the military? Certain munitions, components of nuclear vessels, or nuclear weapons themselves? Jake doesn't think so.
If the Air Force, let's say, knew that
No,
we were working with that
stuff is covered. It won't do that. That stuff won't do that. No. That won't happen. That will not happen. I've heard some stuff before, but not in this case. Not in this case.
Signature. There's a whole set of process that we're trained in on how to deal with that from a hazmat perspective and a containment perspective, and the fact that none of that was apparent that night tells me they didn't know what was in the box, and it got turned on or turned off, which leads me to believe, in hindsight all these years, that it may have been something of non-human origin.
Speculation?
How could they not? How the hell could they not? If you're doing any type of crash, if I was in command, I would have these guys in gear. Anyway, no matter fucking what, I would have them geared. If there's a crash like that, there's something that does not add up here. With this stuff, it does not add up. In psychic programs that we have with information going back and forth, what we know of craft coming down and stuff like that, and the communication, the psychic communication and stuff like that, this does not add up whatsoever. Do they not want them to wear these suits because of bulk or something? This does not add up. This does not make sense. Something is off.
Absolutely. Wild speculation? Perhaps not, when you consider other documented cases of military personnel who claim they were similarly injured by UAP. Take the famous case of Airman John Burroughs. The Veterans Administration granted him full medical disability for injury.
You also have Bentwaters in the UK. That incident where several of those airmen got cancer from non-human intelligence craft there. They got cancer. John McCain passed a bill for them to get health insurance help for what happened with them with the spacecraft just before he died. John McCain did. If it wasn't for him, these guys would not be getting anything, I believe. I believe it's because of John McCain, which says a lot.
To his heart and eyes he claims he suffered during the famous 1980 UAP incident in Rendlesham Forest, England. But that only happened after severely injured by UAP. Take the famous case of Airman John Burroughs. The Veterans Administration granted him full medical disability for injuries to his heart and eyes he claims he suffered during the famous 1980 UAP incident in Rendlesham Forest, England. But that only happened after Senator John McCain intervened to get his medical records declassified.
They were classified, they just weren't withheld, they were classified. Why would you feel that the issue was so important as to not allow for that person's medical records to be released? What are you hiding?
The issue
they don't want to pay for it either. They don't want to acknowledge the truth either, that this stuff exists whatsoever. And they don't want to pay the medical bills for probably hundreds of people that have been around non-human intelligence technologies and metal stuff like that, objects, something could be just like a roller that has contaminants on it. They don't want to pay hundreds of millions of dollars or billions. They want to keep that shut up. For
in last year's congressional UAP hearings.
How can the government deny we have recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?
Ma'am, that's a great question. That's why I think we're here again, because I've seen the documentation by the U.S. government for several of these individuals who have sustained injuries as a result of a UAP incident.
What did happen is silent is either unethical or an administrative oversight that needs investigation by Congress, because we shouldn't be putting people like this under such circumstances.
The good news is that now, under Dr. Nolan's care, Jake is getting proper evaluation and treatment. The bad news is Jake believes there's another, more imminent threat to his health: his former employer.
People have been murdered.
That seems to be the case.
Stay with us. It wasn't just the United States government interested in using Jake's expertise working with UAPs and psionics. His skills were also needed by private companies involved in the top-secret program, and his assignments soon took a turn from recovering UAPs to something more sinister.
What happened?
Well, we were deployed on a particular task to recover what we call HVTs, or high value targets. Those high value targets were Panasonic Tough Books. The sensitive material that is on these Panasonic Tough Books has to do with sensor data.
Jake and his team suspect those Panasonic Tough Books contained data from the top-secret UAP retrieval operations, worth millions to the right buyer. Jake says the private company contracting him was determined to recover them.
We recovered our first two Tough
bet.
Books. They were in the High Sierras. We got back to our base location and then went through them and took photographs, discovered that the hard drives were missing.
Jake says his team arrived too late. The hard drives containing the data had already been taken, and it became clear to Jake that not all was what it seemed, as his team set out to recover the missing data.
The next piece of intelligence that came through.
We got spies. We got people worried about their cute secrets from us. And we got people with our most classified, not even intelligent stuff, stealing. How the fuck is this happening? How the F is this happening? I mean, this is just like me going out in the desert. How the hell? Holy shit. Psychics. Seriously, psychics. Holy fuck. They're using psychics, aren't they? Spy psychics?
Led us to a lake.
Find these things, locate?
And we found the hard drives in a sealed steel container 25 feet underwater.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
someone's going through a lot of effort in order to hide these things.
Yeah, there is
But
some.
by who?
What the
What
fuck?
began as a straightforward recovery mission proved to be anything but simple, and Jake says things soon took a nefarious turn.
At any stage, did you find yourself under threat?
The very next time we went out, things got strange for me. And my spidey senses, my intuition, was on high alert because our intel contact changed, the rhythm and style of our intel changed. As we got closer to the day in which we were going to deploy, intelligence kept changing. And so that raised my concern. We ended up going anyway, and when we got there, the HVT...
Dude, Fall Guys? Are these Fall Guys?
...were gone, and it was clear that shots had been fired.
Shots fired? Whatever was on the computers was a secret so important it was worth fighting for. The situation had changed, and soon Jake says he realized his team was caught in the middle, and their lives were on the line.
You were in significant danger.
Yeah, and I was concerned that we were being set up, we were being prepared
Fall guys.
for the one thing that we've always offered employers, and that is plausible deniability. And that we were perhaps going to be the hidden hand that gets severed.
Don Paul, a Special Forces veteran, was working on Jake's team at the time.
Were you involved in any of the retrieval attempts?
Yes.
Was there a concern that you were being set up, potentially?
Yes. Setup is a mild term. The fact that people have lost
Fall
their
guys.
lives involved in this type
Fall
of
guys.
activity. And the lengths to which people have gone to suppress politically uncomfortable truths is such that there is risk involved.
Do you think that, without naming them, the private air...
Never mind China or Russia. Well, we got this on our own soil. There's psychic warfare going on with this. I can sense it myself. There's psychic warfare as well, where they can sense where this data is, and they can remote view all this stuff, remote view. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
aerospace company that retained you decided to kill you?
Somebody masquerading as a representative of that company surely may have had that intention.
Jake was convinced his former employer, or someone posing as them, was determined to kill him. But who exactly was calling the shots? Jake was determined to find out.
Who were you working for?
It was obvious to us at least who the employer was, but they were now in question, in my mind, as being part of the problem.
Jake was on the hunt,
Obviously.
using his skills and vast network of contacts to determine just who was behind this shadow war fought over these missing hard drives. And he says the trail led him right to the top. This past spring, Jake and his team were in Washington, D.C., conducting surveillance and eventually confronting one of their prime suspects.
So I reached out to the director of security for the particular organization and set up a meeting with them, because there was only two truths in my minds. Either they were complicit or they were compromised.
What was his reaction? Was he nervous?
Oh, he was nervous.
And so he told you to forget it.
He said, you know, it's in our best interest to move on. If he had any knowledge at all, it was clear he's trying to distance himself from it.
Jake was no closer to finding out who
He could be a
exactly
fall guy
wanted
as
him
well.
dead. But he
Everyone's
knew
a
that he was
fall
no
guy.
longer doing the mission he signed up for when he first enlisted, protecting Americans. To make it stop, he would need more than his hand-picked team. He would need Congress, he would need funding, he would need to go public. And he would need us at News Nation to reveal our own startling UAP footage. That's next. Jake Barber says it's now time for the public to know. That's why he's doing this interview. But he's doing much more than talking.
And what you're trying to do now is replicate in the private sphere what's being suppressed in the public sphere.
Yeah, you know, we're not looking back. We're looking forward. I am absolutely confident that we are capable of generating the type of high quality sensor data and photography and film evidence that everyone is wanting.
So who exactly is we?
Our organization is called Skywatcher. We have been recruiting guys from within the program and women, and are forming a new team in coordination with government agencies. And we also have the funding through venture capital.
Can you name those agencies?
Not at this time, but I hope to very soon.
Jake's Skywatcher team has already deployed on behalf of the US government to investigate last year's drone sightings on the East Coast. But before that, they were on the hunt for something even more elusive.
What about those hard drives?
In August of 2024, Jake and the Skywatcher team conducted their own operation with a psionic asset to see if they could summon a UAP themselves.
Look, there's two. Look at this. Look at this. Look right here.
There is.
Look at this one going down and this one going up.
Yeah, you can.
This footage from another Skywatcher operation showing the team's protocols. The team hoped to quietly gather evidence for Skywatcher, but instead found themselves in...
Yeah, they know. Okay, the government has their own psychics and their own remote viewers, and psychic traffic. You can sense each other's traffic, and this is also a threat. Our stupid government has is their threat to us as well, with it and everything. Yeah, I could do some of that myself, some psychic stuff myself, and everything. I've had a lot of sightings and stuff like that. But there is a way to do that.
In danger once more, and Jake says a UAP dogfight erupted in the sky above them. He believes the craft summoned by the team was warring with a rogue UAP piloted by an unknown entity attempting to intercept Skywatcher's operation.
Tell me what happened.
So we set out to do this operation. Right away when the psionic asset went into meditation, he is reporting that he is engaged and in fact piloting a craft and is bringing it in.
So he's actually telepathically controlling alien technology?
I don't have
Yes.
that level.
Yes.
Not
As crazy as that
level.
sounds, that's exactly what we set out to do, what he reported we would do. And then things got a little weird. Right about I'd say 4 or 5 minutes into the operation, he goes, something's going on, something's wrong, get me out of here. And right about that time, our Overwatch Fred looked up to the sky and saw a disc, a classic lenticular shaped disc.
That was Fred Baker, Special Operations veteran, now part of the Skywatcher team.
So he was flying the egg.
And then when we had to pull him out of this, that's when the egg dropped.
Wow, so at the very moment that he's essentially detaching his mind from the object, you see it fall.
Correct.
Professor Gary Nolan was there that night too.
What I did see was an individual who, in the midst of attempting to call such an object, it was clear that he was in distress at the moment of the supposed interaction. And at that moment, something is seen. When we reviewed what it was that the person on the roof had seen, both by drawing and by videography, something showed up.
Can we see the egg?
Yeah. So here's frame one. It passed across our entire 69-degree angle of view in 0.84 seconds on our sensor. It comes into frame here.
So that one there does look like just an upright oval egg.
Oval egg.
And is that similar to what you've seen in the program?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. This is exactly the same thing.
Aside from releasing data and footage like this to the public, we're told this video was among those sent to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, the Pentagon organization responsible for monitoring UAPs. The egg resembles the UAP encountered by US Navy fighters off the east coast of the US in 2015, suggesting a connection between these anomalous objects. But until now, it's never been shown to the public, making Jake's mission even more critical. The Skywatcher team feels it has to push the federal government to act. Witnesses at the congressional UAP hearings have been saying the same thing.
The Pentagon The intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it.
Jake Barber has been to Capitol Hill too. News Nation has confirmed that this fall he met with staffers for Florida Senator Marco Rubio, now President-elect Trump's pick for Secretary of State.
I feel I was able to fill in gaps that have been there for a long time that no other whistleblower has been able to do.
A lot of people aren't going to believe this. What do you say to those people?
I'm not here to make anyone believe anything. It's exhausting. I'll paraphrase the book of Matthew. You will know us by our fruits.
I mean, it could be a science thing, misinformation thing. So it sounds too crazy, but it could. I know we do psychic stuff like this. So this is very interesting. And I could believe some where people are infighting in our own country for this hard drives, for, you know, all this secret information that we have, internal tribal contractors. They're willing to kill each other. I can believe it's information is power. Intelligence is power. He or she controls the information, has the power, and has the intelligence. Controls the intelligence, has the power, and everything else. I like to hear what other people have to think and stuff like that.
Stay tuned in and watch what our new project is about to do, and prepare to be dazzled.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, what they're saying right now, you think that blow your mind, either you think it's BS or you think it's true or not. I can tell you that the reality will blow people's minds to out of infinity to what reality is really like. Whether it's true or not. Okay? So, anyways, hope everyone has a good night. Morning, noon, night, wherever you are. Bless. And there's a lot more for everybody to learn about this stuff. I want to go over the telepathy tapes, stuff like that, because we all have psychic abilities. We have telepathic abilities. I've had psychic abilities with some of the adult performers that I know and love and stuff like that a bit. There's a bit of that, and there's a way to refine it. But at the same time, you have to develop shielding techniques too, to guard yourself from other psychics, because there are good and bad ETs out there. There are really evil ones that'll grape people as well and do bad evil things, and there are good ones that want enlightenment and want us to go beyond our human forms, because this is only a sliver of us. The flesh is not who we really are. We're much more than flesh and blood. Okay? This is just a meat bag that we're wearing. This isn't really us. We are energy and stuff like that. So anyways, take care, everybody. Have a good morning, night.